Looking back on it, we don't have to turn Jar Jar Binks into a Sith to make him a good character. And I know your minds are all blown right now because for the longest time I've been like a critic of Jar Jar Binks. And most of it's been for good fun, like, hey, Jar Jar sucks, that kind of thing. But in reality, he doesn't. He's not a bad character at all. Look at it this way. We all have that friend that annoys the crap out of us. The one that he's always there, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Texting you 24/7, calling you out of the blue, showing up at your house, and just feeling like he owes you his life for being his friend. Sometimes this friend says annoying stuff that you just want to say, what are you talking about? And you do. You make fun of them for it for a little bit, and then you move on, and you're still friends. But if anybody outside of your little circle messes with that friend, you're there to defend them. Well, that's what Jar Jar Binks is to Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and Qui-Gon Jinn. He's that annoying friend, but they will still take up for him because they love him. Now, I'm not saying that Jar Jar Binks is a Sith theory is bad at all. I'm not. I mean, it makes total sense, and we can see the clues in there if that's what George Lucas had intended. I'm not saying it is what he intended because he's never came out and said that's what it was intended for. So to me, right now, it's more of a what if Jar Jar Binks was a Sith Lord? And we know how I feel about what ifs. They didn't really exist unless they do this alternate universe thing like the MCU's doing, but that's already been done, so let's not go there. I know I've rambled on for almost 2 minutes, and I haven't told you why Jar Jar Binks is a great character. Well, first let me tell you about my shift toward that. For the longest time, I despised Jar Jar Binks. I thought this character has no purpose at all in this show. He's a annoying brat. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, okay, and this is just recently, just within the last couple weeks, I've thought, well, okay, maybe he's not that annoying. Or, well, yeah, he's annoying. But maybe he is crucial to the story. As George Lucas said, Jar Jar is the key to everything. And that doesn't mean he's the key to everything because he's a Sith. It means he's the key to everything because he brought upon the destruction of the Republic as we knew it and the Jedi Order. But not just that. I mean, we can hate him for that failure. We can hate him for that alone bringing on the fall. But had Jar Jar not do it, there are tens of thousands or if not millions of other senators or representatives that were gullible enough to fall for that. Just Jar Jar happened to be the closest one, and he seemed like the helpful idiot. So, yes, he brought down the Republic by helping create the clone army. He brought down the Jedi by helping create that clone army as well, or at least making that clone army legal. But Jar Jar also did some really good things. He helped save Naboo. He brought the Gungans and the Naboo together as one to fight against the droid army. That's a huge accomplishment. Yeah, you could say, well, he was a clumsy idiot throughout the battle. Yes, he was, but he was still victorious. He still helped. He still talked to the bosses about bringing the Naboo in. He broke that ice so Padme could come in and talk. That's a huge accomplishment. How many of us idiots could save our planet, let alone our neighborhood? I don't care what technique Jar Jar uses to fight with, if it's drunken fist or if it's just drunken idiot. He fought. He helped. And I came to these conclusions when I was watching The Phantom Menace recently with my wife. I thought, okay, he's not so bad. Why have I been carrying this chip on my shoulder for so long against Jar Jar Binks? At one time, after The Phantom Menace released, I liked the character so much I even drew a picture of him. And not some 4-year-old picture, a detailed drawing of Jar Jar Binks, because I loved the design of Jar Jar. I thought he was so cool looking. You know, maybe I'll post a picture of that drawing on my community tab or something, so look for that just in case I do it. Anyways, back to topic. So the next part of this is going to be about the actor who played Jar Jar Binks, aka Ahmed Best. Now let's put yourself in his shoes for just a moment. You're a young, aspiring actor. The biggest gig in the biggest franchise presents itself to you and asks you to audition while they see you performing live on stage. And of course, you go to the audition. This is a Star Wars casting director. Of course, you're going to do it. This doesn't just mean fame and fortune. This means a lifetime goal of being in a Star Wars movie. Who cares about the money? Who cares about the fame? Who cares about what's going to happen next because you were in Star Wars? That's what happened to Ahmed Best. He was cast in without even first applying for it. They saw him acting on stage in the show Stomp, and they asked him to try out for the part. He tried out, he got the part. Excitement. This guy was so excited about being in Star Wars. So he plays the part of Jar Jar Binks, and he does an amazing job playing this part. And everyone will agree that he played an amazing part in the movie. They just didn't like his character. Well, let me tell you, the actor is the character. And I say that because the actor puts so much of themselves into the character. They help develop the character. They are a part of the character. The director says, okay, this is what I've written for the character, but we need you to add you into that character. And that's what they do for every character, not just the Star Wars character, but for every character and everything that's ever acted out. There's a piece of them. There's a reason Ewan McGregor plays such a great Obi-Wan Kenobi. Who could we see playing Obi-Wan Kenobi other than Ewan McGregor? Really nobody. The same with Liam Neeson in the Qui-Gon Jinn role, or Mark Hamill in the Luke Skywalker role. We can't see anybody else playing those because it's those actors. They put themselves in that role. So what did we do when The Phantom Menace came out? We first saw Jar Jar Binks. Okay, well, at first we were like, okay, this is a cool movie. Then the first review came out from a fan that said they hated it. It ruined their childhood. And immediately everybody jumped on board. Everybody jumped on board to hating The Phantom Menace, to hating Jar Jar Binks especially. Now, at the time that this came out, it was around 1999, 2000-ish, that people really started hating on Jar Jar and The Phantom Menace. I didn't have internet. I didn't have a smartphone. All I had was this prepaid flip phone that, could make emergency calls to people if I needed to. Back then, cell phones weren't as prolific as they are now. So I had no idea this hate was going on. Everything I saw in magazines and books and stuff that I read, it says The Phantom Menace is great, because these are professional critics talking about it, saying The Phantom Menace was great, and Jar Jar Binks brings life to the episode. But I had one friend. It took one friend, that was it, to manipulate my young mind into thinking Jar Jar Binks was the bane of the existence of Star Wars and that character needed to go. And I started believing it. So I started watching The Phantom Menace on VHS a little bit more, and I was like, wow, they're right. Okay, this character's annoying. I can't stand him. And I carried that chip on my shoulder for a long time without understanding really why. I was manipulated by this one person who talked to me, and I started hearing other people saying it, and then everybody was saying it eventually, and it came to the point where the actor was getting harassed, where the actor was getting backlash saying they hated him. And yeah, saying you hate a character is like saying you hate the actor himself, but going straight to the actor saying this stuff, it didn't have good results for Ahmed Best, and he's not the only one. Jake Lloyd suffered the same thing, and if you don't know who that is, he's the young man who played Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace. So these actors who were excited to be in Star Wars, that even I dream of doing, even if I could be a stormtrooper in Star Wars, I would love it. And any of you would say yes, even if it was a tiny part in the sequel trilogy, any of you would have said yes. I don't care if you hate Disney, if you hate J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, any of them, you would have said yes. I guarantee it. And that's what these two actors did. They said yes, and they did it. They put their hearts and souls into this. A young man, a young boy no less, Jake Lloyd, was bullied so much, he dropped out of acting and had mental issues afterwards. I mean, that's shameful. That's really shameful. Now, me, I didn't like the character of Jar Jar Binks, like I said, because I'd been manipulated by somebody else. Okay, I can say that all I want. That just makes me a weak-minded fool. But really what it boils down to is I just didn't like the character. I didn't go after the actor. I didn't voice my opinion out there live. I have voiced it on here since then, but now I'm retracting that. I like the character of Jar Jar Binks again, because I'm not going to let the fandom menace tell me what to like and what not to like. This is my channel. This is me. This is my opinion. If you don't like it, you don't have to agree with it. You can hate it all you want, but don't go after the actors. And now it's turned. The Phantom Menace and all of the prequels are becoming beloved by most fans. And to me, that's amazing. I am so happy that shift has happened. I can enjoy the Star Wars prequel trilogy, beginning with Episode 1 and ending in Episode 3. Not just that, I enjoy the original trilogy, Episode 4 through Episode 6. But what I'm seeing now is that shift of hate toward the prequel trilogy has shifted. It's shifted toward the sequel trilogy now. Now people are doing the same thing to the sequel trilogy that they did to the prequel trilogy. You can all deny it if you want and say, no, I never hated the prequels. Well, it's probably because you were little when the prequels came out. Now, all you grown-ups who were adults when the prequels came out and you hated the prequels, you did it then, and you're doing it now to the sequel trilogy. The same thing. Did you know that Ahmed Best was bullied so much that he thought about suicide? He almost committed suicide on the Brooklyn Bridge. If you don't believe me, I'll leave a link to the video down below in the description. Watch the video. It's touching. It's very moving. What we, and I include myself in this, as fans, did to the actors of these movies. And now we're doing it again. Sure, we have regret for Ahmed Best and Jake Lloyd and Hayden Christensen for their parts in these movies. But what about the new actors? We're doing it all over again. Now, I'm not saying that you have to love the sequel trilogy, the prequel trilogy, or the original trilogy. You don't have to like any of it if you don't want to. But what I'm saying is the negativity and the hate you spew against it, it carries weight. It carries a lot of weight, and it affects these actors' personal lives, not just the fantasy life they live in Star Wars, but their real day-to-day lives. Negativity carries so much bad energy. Whether you realize it or not, whether you believe it or not, doesn't matter. There is a such thing called karma, and that's from negative or positive energy. There can be positive karma, negative karma. And the negative karma that we are creating by spewing anger and hate towards these things that already exist, all in the name of, if we don't speak out, they'll never change their ways and they'll keep making bad products. No, it is true that constructive criticism does help art. But what is going on is not constructive criticism. It's hate. It's anger. And that leads to the dark side, if you don't remember. Like something. Don't like something. It's up to you. It's your opinion. We're individuals. I like what I like and I dislike what I dislike. And I don't care who likes it or dislikes it along with me. I mean, somebody will, I'm sure, but I really don't care, because that's me individually, and I'm not going to change that to form somebody else's needs. Never again. Not the way I did with Jar Jar Binks. I liked Jar Jar Binks in the beginning. Anybody in my family will tell you that. And then one friend just ruined it for me. Now, I regret that. Not just now, but all through this time, I kept thinking, why do I hate Jar Jar? I don't know, he's annoying. That's why I hate him. But now I don't hate him. He belongs in the Star Wars franchise, and I'm happy he's there. I was happy in the beginning that he was there, and I'm happy now that he's there. And I'm happy for the Star Wars sequels. I know a lot of you won't agree with that, and you hate me for it and say that, I'm some blasphemous or something, but I'm not. You're going to see a few years from now, the same way the prequel trilogy went is going to go with the sequel trilogy. People are going to start loving it. And it's this generation that it was made for. The kids. The kids who it was made for are going to grow up loving them. Just as the kids who the prequels were made for grew up loving them. And now there's a huge, huge support following for the prequels. That's why we're seeing Hayden Christensen back. That's why we're seeing Ewan McGregor back. And I hope to God we see Ahmed Best and Jake Lloyd back in the Star Wars franchise. Well, I've rambled on long enough. This is Gerald from Star Wars Fanatic, wishing you all great health, happiness, and positive karma even. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. Leave a comment down below. I do read all the comments, and I try to comment back as much as I can. With my tight work schedule the way it is, it's not as easy for me as it used to be, but I do still try to at least give you guys a heart to let you know I'm thinking about you. So thank you for all the comments. I really appreciate it. And thank you for watching. And remember, this is the way, the only way.